Colonial architecture in New York, Dutch influence. New York City is often admired as a metropolis defined by its towering skyscrapers and bold innovation. But long before this city became the global hub we know today, its foundations were laid by the early colonizers, particularly the Dutch settlers. These settlers from the Netherlands shaped not just the cultural and economic backbone of New York, but much of its early architecture. This journey through the 17th and 18th centuries reveals how Dutch settlers didn't just transplant European architectural traditions to the New World, but reimagined them to fit an unfamiliar environment. From the practical elegance of their steep gable roofs to the multifunctionality of mixed-use buildings, the legacy of Dutch colonial architecture is weaved into New York's story in ways both obvious and hidden. So join us as we uncover the fascinating details of how these early architects shaped the city. In the early 1600s, Dutch settlers arrived in what we now know as the state of New York, then called New Netherland. Their primary goal? To establish a thriving fur trade and plant the flag of Dutch ingenuity in the New World. Life in this vast, untamed land was no easy feat. Beyond the challenges of an unfamiliar climate and landscape, settlers faced the need to create communities and infrastructure from scratch. Though their architectural roots lay firmly in the Netherlands, conditions in the New World demanded something more flexible. The settlers had to integrate local resources, cope with unpredictable weather, and adapt their designs to the realities of colonial life. Adding to this complexity was the presence of the Lenape people, the indigenous population. Rather than outright conflict, there were moments of collaboration, where shared knowledge helped shape the emerging settlements. That spirit of adaptation, whether working with the Lenape, strategically designing buildings for commerce, or coping with wilderness climates, defined everything the Dutch built in New Netherland. It is this cultural exchange and problem-solving mentality that set their New World architecture apart. Dutch settlers brought with them a unique architectural perspective. Their designs were functional and innovative, but they were not without an eye for detail and sophistication. Let's break down the standout features of Dutch colonial architecture. Take one look at early Dutch colonial homes, and you'll notice their steep gable roofs, a feature instantly recognizable. These sharply pitched roofs weren't just a stylistic choice, they were ingeniously practical. Additionally, the design maximized attic and storage space inside the house, a necessity for families managing life in remote settlements. Brick was the material of choice for many Dutch settlers, reflecting a love for durability and artistry. Even in this practical material, there was room for beauty. Many facades crafted by the Dutch boasted intricate patterns, with an occasional splash of glazed bricks baked into the design for visual contrast. Space was at a premium in many settlements, particularly in towns. Dutch colonial homes were built compactly, with symmetrical layouts and multifunctional interiors. This approach not only preserved space but also emphasized efficiency in every aspect of their lives. One defining legacy of Dutch settlers was their penchant for mixed-use buildings. In Dutch towns, it was common for a structure to serve dual purposes, a residence on the upper level, while the lower level operated as a shop, workshop, or storehouse. This design was crucial for the economic vitality of the settlements. With limited resources and a growing trade economy, combining living and business spaces was practical and economical. These homes became central hubs, where families lived upstairs and ran businesses downstairs, contributing to the bustling activity of early colonial villages. What's remarkable about these mixed-use structures is how they laid a blueprint for urban planning in later centuries. Their ability to maximize functionality without sacrificing quality is a principle visible in modern urban architecture to this day. Colonial architecture wasn't developed in isolation. The Dutch settlers forged a subtle yet meaningful partnership with the Lenape people, who had long called these lands home. The Lenape shared their knowledge of the environment, including which local materials were best suited for building in the New World. Timber, which was abundant in the northeastern forests, became a key resource in Dutch structures. Additionally, the Lenape's expertise in the natural landscape influenced where settlements were established and how homes were positioned for optimal sunlight, wind protection, and access to water. This collaboration wasn't perfect, and like all stories of colonization, it had its share of tension and asymmetry. However, the interplay between local knowledge and incoming innovation tells a deeper story of New York's architectural roots, a story where shared ingenuity left its mark in both visible and intangible ways. If there's one structure that perfectly symbolizes Dutch colonial design, it's the farmhouse. Found across early settlements, these homes were a testament to the settlers' ability to adapt European traditions to the challenges of the New World. Dutch farmhouses usually featured broad, sloping roofs that extended outward, often sheltering a porch or outdoor work area. They were sturdy, reliable homes that prioritized functionality while maintaining a striking appearance. The interiors were cleverly divided into practical spaces, allowing families to manage their farming operations efficiently. Today, several Dutch farmhouses are preserved as historical landmarks, offering a glimpse into the lives of 17th-century New Yorkers. These structures are more than picturesque reminders of the past. They're living testaments to a blend of creativity, adaptability, and community spirit. The Dutch not only influenced architecture itself, but also shaped the very layout and dynamics of early New York settlements. Whether in bustling port cities or quiet farming communities, their buildings reflected a cohesive vision of practical living. In urban spaces like New Amsterdam, which would later become New York City, the Dutch emphasis on mixed-use designs helped create a structured yet flexible hub of commerce. The narrow, compact streets were framed by multifunctional buildings, reminiscent of towns in the Netherlands. In rural areas, however, the focus shifted. Farmhouses became the centerpiece of self-sufficient communities, surrounded by fields and agricultural infrastructure. The adaptability of Dutch architecture allowed their designs to flourish across these very different environments, leaving a universal legacy on New York's evolution into both a cosmopolitan city and a rural haven. Fast forward to today, and the ripples of Dutch influence still flow through New York. Though skyscrapers dominate the skyline, there's undeniable inspiration rooted in the principles of Dutch colonial architecture. Simplicity, efficiency, and respect for the land are just as relevant now as they were in the 1600s. Preservation efforts have ensured that some of the original Dutch buildings remain standing. Walking through neighborhoods with surviving Dutch farmhouses or restored gable-roofed homes feels like stepping directly into the past. Even some modern architects incorporate Dutch-inspired elements, embracing timeless principles of form and function. Yet more than the physical structures, it's the mindset of adaptability and creative problem-solving that carries forward. Dutch settlers taught us that great architecture isn't just about beauty, it's about working with your environment, thinking practically, and crafting spaces that meet the diverse needs of a community. From the steep gable roofs that shed snow in the heart of winter to the intricate brick facades that showcase an enduring love for detail, Dutch colonial architecture is a story of innovation, resilience, and adaptability. These settlers didn't just build homes and towns, they laid the cultural and architectural foundation for what would become one of the most iconic cities in the world. As we stand amidst towering skyscrapers and modern marvels, it's worth looking back to honor the visionaries who came before. Their ability to merge old-world traditions with new-world challenges continues to inspire architects, historians, and dreamers alike. So the next time you stumble across a gable-roofed home or a brick pattern that tells a story, pause and remember the pioneering spirit of New York's Dutch settlers. You might just see the city in an entirely new light. In the next video, we will take a closer look at the British influence.